Within just 1 week, in prisons across Mississippi, 5 inmates have died at the hands of other prisoners. The killings have highlighted a system with serious problems, even beyond just this brutal violence. William Brangham has more.
That's right, Amna. Those deaths were just the tip of the iceberg. From staffing problems to crumbling facilities, Mississippi's correctional system is in a dire situation that puts prisoners and guards at risk. Jerry Mitchell is the founder of Mississippi's Center for Investigative Reporting, and he's been investigating conditions in Mississippi prisons with a grant from ProPublica, and he joins me now. Jerry, thank you very much for doing this. I wonder, in your series, you talk about several different prisons and problems in them, but you really focus on one particular prison in Parchman, Mississippi. Can you tell us a little bit about what you found there?
Well, we found just a host of problems. You have everything from just like the drinking water has had nearly 100 major violations of the Safe Drinking Water Act. The photographs of birds eating off the food trays of inmates, some of the drains, there's just garbage disposals backed up in the kitchen, and the kitchen door, big crack in it, so flies and mosquitoes can easily, and roaches can get in. And you can't imagine some of these conditions. It looks like a third world prison, to be honest with you, some of the details of it. Then you've had these deaths. Since July, there have been seven homicides inside Parchman prison. So, and then five suicides too. So it's had a host of problems.
I mean, you've been reporting on Mississippi prisons for a very, very long time. Can you help us understand why in the 21st century are we still seeing conditions like this?
They haven't funded it, to be honest. I mean, they have cut the Mississippi Department of Corrections essentially about $185 million over the past 5 years, and so if they had just stayed level, they would have had $185 million more. So it's just a lot of awful conditions, no staffing, as the vacancy rate's like 50%, just all sorts of horrible things going on.
Mississippi's Governor Phil Bryant, when he was asked about some of this recent violence, blamed it largely on gang activity going on inside the prisons. How true is that?
You could say, in terms of the most recent events, it was in fact a gang war going on, but inmates and their families have been expressing their frustrations to me for years and about the conditions getting worse. Did a whole package of stories in 2014 on these prisons, and I just kept hearing back from these families and inmates, it's getting worse. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. You would think they had this corruption scandal. The head of the corrections department went off to prison. You would think that the prisons would get better, but instead what happened is Mississippi legislature decided to basically quit funding them.
And I understand that there was federal oversight. This is from your reporting, that there was federal oversight of this prison system for a long time.
Yes.
But then Mississippi apparently got its act together, and then the feds backed off, and then I guess that's when these problems got worse.
Yes, and in 2011, basically Mississippi for almost 40 years was under federal court oversight and monitoring, and so they would have these regular health reports, other reports on various parts of the prison, the conditions of the prison, and then if things weren't fixed, then obviously the federal judge could step in and say, hey, wait a minute, you need to fix this. In 2012, there were no cells without lights or power. Today, there are more than 300 cells without lights or power. And so you have inmates that are literally in the dark, and you have day rooms where it's in the dark. And so if you're a guard, that's a dangerous situation. If you're an inmate, it's a dangerous situation. So not to mention the conditions can obviously affect behavior as well. And so I think from what I'm hearing from the inmates, they're very frustrated. And so I think to some extent was a boiling over of frustrations as well.
A few months ago, I talked with Oklahoma's governor about a recent release he had done about several hundred nonviolent, low-level prisoners to sort of reduce overcrowding there. Has that kind of a thing been suggested in Mississippi?
Yes, it has. There's some suggestion of taking basically the low level, like drug possession, felony drug possession, and retroactively turning it into a misdemeanor, which would free. The estimates would be that would affect about 2,000 prisoners that would go free, and obviously that would help to ease the situation there in terms of crowding.
All right, Jerry Mitchell from the Mississippi Center for Investigative Reporting. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.